Paris, 1943. A woman sits in a Gestapo interrogation cell. She hasn't eaten in days. She hasn't slept in longer. The men across the table have a list of names, resistance fighters, safe houses, radio frequencies that could end the war in Europe. All they need is for her to talk. She doesn't. Not that day. Not the next. Not even after months of torture that would break most trained soldiers. What the Gestapo didn't know was who she really was. Not just a spy, not just a radio operator. She was the direct descendant of Indian royalty, a princess who chose a life of danger over a life of comfort, and who would rather die in silence than betray a single person she swore to protect. This is the true story of Noor Inayat Khan, the woman who never broke. Who was she? To understand how a princess ended up in a Nazi prison cell, you have to go back to where her story really begins, not on a battlefield, but in a quiet spiritual household thousands of miles from any war. Noor Inayat Khan was born on New Year's Day 1914 in Moscow. Her father, Hazrat Inayat Khan, was a Sufi teacher and musician, a descendant of Tipu Sultan, the legendary 18th-century ruler of Mysore who had fought fiercely against British colonial expansion in India. Her mother was American. It was, from the very start, an unusual mix of cultures: Indian nobility, Sufi mysticism, and a family that preached peace, tolerance, and non-violence above all else. The family moved to London and then to Paris, where Noor grew up. She wasn't raised to be a soldier. She wasn't raised to be a spy. She was raised to be gentle. She studied child psychology. She wrote children's books and played the harp. Those who knew her described her as quiet, dreamy, almost too soft for the harsh realities of the world. Then, in June 1940, that world collapsed. Nazi Germany invaded France. Noor and her family fled to England, one step ahead of the advancing German army. And somewhere in that escape, watching her adopted home get swallowed by fascism, something in the gentle, dreamy girl who wrote children's stories hardened into resolve. She wasn't going to sit this war out. From pacifist to spy. In 1940, Noor joined the Women's Auxiliary Air Force and trained as a radio operator. She was good at it, fast, precise, disciplined. So good, in fact, that she caught the attention of a secret organization that Winston Churchill himself had ordered into existence, the Special Operations Executive, or SOE. Its mission, in Churchill's own words, was to set Europe ablaze. The SOE needed radio operators desperately, people who could parachute into occupied territory and become the vital link between the French resistance and London. It was, by every measure, one of the most dangerous jobs of the entire war. The average life expectancy of a wireless operator in the field was measured in weeks, not months. Radio signals could be traced. One mistake, one moment of carelessness, and the Gestapo would be at your door within hours. Her SOE trainers were divided about her. Some found her too sensitive, too trusting, too honest for a life built entirely on lies and disguise. One training report noted she was not overburdened with brains for field work, a judgment history would prove spectacularly wrong. But others saw something else, a steel will hidden underneath the softness. Vera Atkins, the SOE officer who selected and briefed female agents before sending them into France, believed in her. In June 1943, that belief was tested. Noor Inayat Khan, codename Madeline, became the first female wireless operator the SOE ever sent into Nazi-occupied Paris. Alone in occupied Paris. Paris in 1943 was a city under total surveillance. German patrols stopped civilians at random. Gestapo agents infiltrated resistance networks with terrifying success. And Noor's job was to move through this city carrying a wireless radio set hidden in an ordinary-looking suitcase, a device that, if discovered, meant immediate arrest, interrogation, and almost certain death. She had to relocate constantly, set up her radio, transmit her message in a narrow window of time before German radio detection vans could triangulate her position, then disappear before they arrived. Every transmission was a gamble with her life. And then disaster struck. Just weeks after she arrived, the Gestapo cracked down hard on the Paris resistance network she belonged to. One by one, her fellow agents were arrested. Her entire circuit collapsed around her in a matter of days. London gave her the order every agent dreads and every agent secretly hopes never to receive. Come home. It's over. Get out while you still can. She refused. Noor Inayat Khan chose to stay in Paris, alone, without a network, without backup, without a single other agent she could trust, because she was the last working radio link between the French resistance and London. If she left, that link died with her departure. So instead, she kept transmitting, alone, for months. She moved from apartment to apartment, changing her appearance, changing her routines, staying one step ahead of German detection vans that were actively hunting for her signal. Historians would later call this period one of the most extraordinary displays of solo courage in the entire war. A lone woman, barely trained for this level of danger, keeping an entire intelligence pipeline alive through sheer will. But courage alone couldn't protect her from betrayal. In October 1943, after months of evading capture, Noor was given up. Not by torture, not by German intelligence work, but someone closer to home. A member of the French resistance circle, motivated by money and jealousy, sold her location to the Gestapo. She was arrested in her Paris apartment. Even then, she didn't go quietly. In the days following her capture, Noor attempted to escape not once, but multiple times. At one point, climbing out through the bars of her cell window alongside other prisoners, an escape attempt that came astonishingly close to succeeding before German guards recaptured them. Her interrogators pressed her for information, the names of fellow agents, safe-house locations, radio codes that could unravel Britain's entire intelligence network in France. This was the moment everything in her life had been building toward, whether she knew it or not. The gentle girl who wrote children's stories about peace was now the last line of defense, protecting dozens of other people's lives. She said nothing. Noor was transferred to Pforzheim prison in Germany, classified as a highly dangerous prisoner. She was kept in chains, in solitary confinement for nearly a year. German records, recovered after the war, describe her as particularly dangerous precisely because she gave her captors nothing. No names, no locations, no codes. Fellow prisoners who survived the war later recalled hearing her, in the depths of that isolation, still finding ways to communicate messages of hope to other prisoners by scratching signals into her food bowl before it was passed along. Small, defiant proof that whatever the Gestapo did to her body, they could not touch who she was underneath it. Month after month, the interrogations continued. Month after month, she gave them silence. In September 1944, after nearly a year of imprisonment, Noor Inayat Khan was transported to Dachau concentration camp along with 3 other SOE agents. She was executed shortly after her arrival. She was 30 years old. Witnesses who survived the camp later reported that her final word, spoken in the moments before her death, was simply liberté, freedom. After the war, The full extent of what Noor Inayat Khan had endured and what she had refused to give up came to light. She was posthumously awarded the George Cross, one of Britain's highest honors for civilian courage, and the French Croix de Guerre. Today, a bronze bust of her stands in Gordon Square in London, the first memorial in Britain dedicated to a Muslim woman and to an Indian woman for her wartime service. A reminder that the war wasn't only won by armies and generals. It was won in small and enormous ways by people like her, people the history books almost forgot. A princess who could have lived a quiet, protected life. Instead, she chose silence when silence meant survival for others and death for herself. There was always a woman behind it.